Here is my modified yellow Game Boy Advance with an AGS-101 LCD, a new shell that is in yellow, new light gray buttons, new silicone pads, new plastic screen protector that consists of Pokemon characters, and also a voltage regulator ++, which is known as the VR++. This is the VR++ from JellyBelly Customs, and when I hit the L button and hold select, when I hold the select button and click L a bunch of times, it goes to the lowest brightness. But when I click the R button and hold select, it goes to maximum brightness. Again, when I press L and hold select, it dims the brightness. Hold select and press R, it increases the brightness. I want to do a comparison between the AGS-101 LCD with a VR++ from JellyBelly Customs and an original Game Boy Advance to an AGS-101 LCD on a Game Boy Advance SP. The Game Boy Advance SP right now has its lowest brightness, but when I press the brightness button, it increases the brightness. As you can see, the Game Boy Advance SP AGS-101 in an original Game Boy Advance with the VR++ from JellyBelly Customs installed is actually a bit brighter than the AGS-101 in a Game Boy Advance SP original right here. I mean, the AGS-101 model in the Game Boy Advance. Again, this is brighter than that one right here. Here's Pokemon Pinball running, which this Game Boy Advance consists of Pokemon characters, and the game currently has a game related to Pokemon just to match with the lens in the game. I tested all buttons to make sure they work, and they do work, thankfully. Keep in mind that these are new silicone pads and they may not feel 100% like the original Game Boy Advance silicone pads. So now I'm actually gonna test the link port and the headphone jack. Ooh, by the way, speaking of the headphone jack, there's a DS Lite speaker installed in this Game Boy Advance. The DS Lite speaker is actually newer than the original Game Boy Advance speaker. So anyways, I'm gonna test the link port and headphone jack now. As you can see, I am testing the link port cable for the Game Boy Advance, and I'm using the link cable from the Game Boy Advance to the Game Boy Advance AGS-101. And currently I'm having a little bit of issues with the link port, so I'm actually gonna try the link port again, the link cable, that is. Link cables inside, and now the Game Boy Advance accepts the link port with the link cable to work. I have a Game Boy Advance SP connected to the original Game Boy Advance, so the link port is working on this one. I turned this Game Boy Advance on and Pokemon Pinball is running right now. So I'm gonna plug in my earbuds into the headphone jack, and just to make sure the earplugs work good. And does the headphone jack work? Yes, it does! The original Nintendo Game Boy Advance AGB-001 accepts Game Boy cartridges, which are the gray ones. Not only the Game Boy Advance can play original Game Boy cartridges that are in the color gray, but also Game Boy Color cartridges that are in the color black. Black Game Boy Color cartridges can be used on a DMG Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, or the Japanese Game Boy Lite. However, if you have Chi-Chi Alien for the Game Boy Color, this will not work on the Game Boy Advance. This is because Chi-Chi Alien is made specifically for the Game Boy Color. It will not work on a Game Boy Original or a Game Boy Advance, and Chi-Chi Alien needs the IR sensor to play the game. So Chi-Chi Alien and other Game Boy Color specific games that require the IR sensor is no good for the Game Boy Advance Original or SP. The Game Boy Advance also accepts Game Boy Advance game cartridges too, which they're meant to be made for this system, along with the SP, Micro, Nintendo DS backwards compatibility slot, as well as the DS Lite backwards compatibility slot. And by the way, this AGS-101 screen is the original AGS-101 screen that is taken out of a Game Boy Advance SP, and this is a brown tab. This Game Boy Advance with an AGS-101 LCD, that is the original with the brown tab, with the JellyBelly Customs VR++, that is a voltage regulator and a digital brightness controller built in, is available on my eBay. So if you are interested in this item, you can either buy it now or place a bid, because this item is an auction and a buy it now. And one more thing. The JellyBelly Customs VR voltage regulator installed in the Game Boy Advance makes the AGS-101 screen as bright as an AGS-101 on a Game Boy Advance's P-Max brightness. So if there is not a voltage regulator in a Game Boy Advance with an AGS-101 LCD, the screen would not be as bright as an AGS-101 at the max brightness. Again, this item is available on eBay. So have a nice day, everyone.